good morning to you, Josh. It
Good morning,
is
Russell.
9 a.m. for you, huh? How's your
Right,
morning?
yeah. It's good morning. I'm excited to talk.
Cool, cool. Do you usually wake up early, or did you have to wake up a bit earlier for this interview?
Yeah, I usually wake up pretty early. During the week, it's around 7, and on weekends, it's about 8. So,
Mhm. So giving yourself an extra hour during weekends.
yeah,
I see.
right.
Okay. And were you always waking up fairly early? Did you have a different schedule maybe before joining the real world? Is there anything to say there?
Yeah, so when I was younger, I would always wake up at 6 a.m. And then when I got older, that kind of fell off and I was sleeping in a lot more. And then ever since I've been in the real world, there's been a lot more discipline as to waking up at a certain time every day and sticking to that. So I've noticed a change there. I think it's just the overall principle of discipline just carries throughout your entire life once you get it started.
Good. Okay. That's a great starting point. Love that. So what do you do within the real world?
Yeah, so I do copywriting. I first learned it by focusing on email marketing for companies. And then recently I've translated that skill with a lot of the new lessons to offering full marketing funnels using my copywriting skills to help businesses funnel their traffic into paying customers.
Okay. So started out with email marketing. How long were you doing that before you transitioned to the full funnels?
It was about 2 to 3 months. And then one of the professors gave me the idea of offering more services and packaging it together.
Okay. So how has that scaled in terms of figures? So when you were doing email marketing, how different was it from when you started full funneling?
Yeah, so at first it was very straightforward and it was almost like I had a certain size puzzle piece and I was trying to fit it into every other piece possible. And that didn't allow me as much problem solving ability for these businesses because I was trying to almost force the solution of email marketing onto them. But now that I've expanded what I'm doing, it's a lot easier to give them a solution they need because I'm able to customize it to their current funnel and add in what makes sense for them.
hmm So in terms of figures, how is that correlated?
Yeah, so in the past 2 months, I've gotten $3,000 from this, and it's just getting started because I recently have partnered with some other people, and I'll be doing commission only work and revenue share. So I think now that that's started, it's just going to skyrocket from there.
Very nice. 3,002 months. At what age?
I'm 20 years old now.
Nice. Good stuff.
Um,
So what were you planning on doing before you joined the real world? What was your life trajectory?
um, I don't know. I just always know I wanted to start a business. I didn't know what. I didn't know where to start. You could say I had shiny object syndrome. I was all over the place, trying a little bit of this, trying a little bit of that. And a while ago, I tried to start a Facebook ads agency, and I realized I knew so much less than I thought I did. And I was just trying to basically like copy and paste what I saw these other influencers doing. And that didn't work at all for me because I didn't actually know the skills. I didn't deep down have them practiced and ready to deploy for these companies. So I couldn't even sell them because I didn't even know exactly what I was selling because I didn't understand it on a deeper level. So then when I got into the real world and I discovered copywriting, I didn't even know that existed before or that there was a word for it. I only knew like the legal term of copywriting. And with that, it allowed me to have a path to stick on and take. And ever since I focused on that one thing, that's how I was able to get the results I got.
Very nice. So when you first joined the real world, what were your expectations for what it would be like, and was it different from your expectations?
Yeah, it was different from my expectations. So I didn't realize how in depth it went. I thought it was more of like a traditional course where it's just watch this video, watch this video, watch this video. And then maybe if you have some questions to ask, they could be answered. But once you're inside, there's like all these different rooms you can go into within the campus. There's like different challenges the professors give to you. And the environment is a lot more in depth and has a lot more resources than I thought it would have.
Very cool. And how different are those resources and material within the real world compared to what's out there on the internet?
Yeah, I think it's tailored to like the whole system they're trying to teach you and set up where one thing leads into the next and they want you to truly learn the skill. So within the resources, one thing, for example, it's such a simple thing, but one thing they've talked about once is like doing push-ups. And it's such like a simple thing, and that's just one example. I don't want to give away too much of the sauce that's in
I
there.
mean, feel free because there's so much that I mean, you're not really leaking that much by just
Yeah.
giving a few.
So just like things like that are not something that's traditionally brought into these videos or articles you see online where they're giving tips to build you as a full person, where other videos just go straight to the skill, just briefly go over it. They don't talk about the deep psychology of behind why things work. I think that's why the real world's so successful, because they teach you the principles behind the skills you're learning.
Right. Very cool. So, has the community had any kind of impact on you? Has it helped you in any way? And the Winch channel in extension as well.
Yeah, so the wins channel is actually, I think, a contributing factor to how I got my first win. Um, when you're first starting something out like this and you don't know anybody personally that does it or that has worked with, and you're just doing outreach trying to get a client, it can be discouraging at sometimes because you don't know if this really works, because you might believe in yourself that you have the skills, but until you get that first win, it's really hard to keep pushing. So I think having the wins channel there to see that other people are doing it, and if they're doing it, well, then that means that you can do it. So I think the wins channel was a huge factor. And also the community has helped in a few ways too. It's one of those things where like just one or two nuggets of information makes such a drastic difference, and it helps on a day-to-day basis. But some of those little nuggets have helped me a lot. Like one was one of the other students recommended cold calling, and I gave that a try, and that was how I got one of my bigger clients that's still with me today. And another nugget of information that helped was my transition from doing email marketing to funnels. Like I said, was a result of one of the professor's recommendations teaching me about how I could take this skill and make it something that's deeper and more involved in the business and more
Mhm.
valuable to the business owners as a result.
So, cold calling, interesting. So, what do you find that contacts through social media or somewhere similar and then just
So
start calling?
yeah, so
Huh.
the way I did it was pretty bare bones. I didn't have like a big system going. What I did was I went to Google Maps, looked up my niche in an area, and just went down the list and just called. I didn't have any CRM or anything like that. That's something I'm looking to possibly implement because that'd make it a lot easier to keep track. But I just went down the list on Google Maps, and then I used a notebook to keep track of how many calls I did, how they went, to collect emails, to email them a scheduling time.
Mhm. So, for perspective, if you're comfortable revealing this, how long did it take you to acquire those clients that you now have? How many people did it take for you to call and go through?
So when I was doing cold calling, the client I got through there was, it's hard to answer because it depends if you're counting numbers I called or people that answered. Because one thing that was brutal was so many of the numbers had automatic answering machines. And I'm pretty sure some of the numbers were just there for show for Google to like get better ranking. And they were just like a virtual number that's not actually used that much. So there was a lot of numbers I called that I just had to wait. And then it ended up just not answering or being a robot. So probably hundreds, probably like 400,
Wow.
around the 400 range to get that client. If we're counting those, if we're counting actual answers, it's probably more in the hundreds range.
Wow. So, yeah, a lot of clearly dedication. I mean, and
Yes.
work is required in order to get an income. I mean, it's not a get rich quick scheme, clearly.
Yeah, no, it takes the hard work, but one thing that's nice about having this resource, the real world, is that the steps are clearly lined out. And a lot of people say this with different things, but it's so true here, is it's simple, but it's not easy. You still have to put in the work, but the path is laid out for you, and it's been proven that it works. So I had faith that if I kept going, even though it's not always enjoyable, just number after number after number, it I knew eventually the time would come where someone answers and is interested. And
Mhm.
along with that, cold calling is a really good learning experience, and that's a skill in itself. So as I went, it built me up in a variety of different ways.
Mhm. So since your life is on this trajectory now, where do you see it heading in 6 months to 1 year?
Yeah, in 6 months to 1 year, I'm looking to do more partnerships with businesses where instead of just having one-off clients where I provide my service and then it's left at that, I want to dive deep in with a few companies and fully grow them out the marketing side of their business. And I think this is where I'll be able to give the most value, but will also allow the most scalability for my business because as I help them grow, my income will grow as a result. So
Mhm.
that's kind of the trajectory I see this going in the next 6 months to a year. But 6 months ago, I thought I'd be doing email marketing, and now I'm doing this. So I think it's so much can happen in 6 months when you're working this hard. Things change quick.
Right, can definitely relate to that. So yeah, I'm taking everything day by day. I mean, maybe you have a rough plan for the future, but you know if something does come up, you will just completely change. Everything
Right.
will change. So yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. What would you say was the biggest challenge you faced when you first started out with copywriting?
The biggest challenge was, especially coming in as someone who didn't know copywriting even existed, it was the frustration of coming from environments where like normal jobs you could say where like the money's coming regardless, you just do the skill, or maybe it's not even an actual skill and then you just get paid, things like that. And the struggle was having to sit down, deeply focus without my phone, without music, and just actually develop the skill. And I think not only was that a challenge, but it grew me as a person in other ways too, because now I'm able to actually go deep and focus on working it into a flow state, which is something that wasn't happening frequently before. So
Mhm.
having to sit down and actually learn the skill of how I write words and turn that into money, and going back and editing it and reviewing it and having people criticize it so then I can change it and make it better. I think that was probably the most challenging part for me, was just even understanding that that's a skill.
Mhm. Okay, so a bit more on a personal level now. How would you say how different is your average day now compared to before you joined the real world?
Yeah, it's completely different because now I have like blocks of time throughout my day where I just go deep on outreach or practicing my skill or doing client work. So there's a lot more structure to my day, because before it was just kind of like get up, maybe I don't have something to do at that time. So I just kind of like mess around or just like watch videos or just do something to fill that time. And now I actually have a goal and a mission that I'm on where if I have, let's say, 2 free hours, well, then that's going to be practicing copy or writing copy for one of my clients or doing outreach, something like that. So there's a lot more structure to my day, and I'm a lot more intentional about things I do.
Okay, very nice. Great to hear. I mean, I love hearing stories where people's lives have clearly changed because of the real world. So, even again, on a personal level, what kind of an impact would you say Tate has had on you?
A huge impact. So I don't know how personal I want to get, but I think it was about 2 years ago when I discovered him. I was in probably one of the darkest points of my life. And I don't know why, because it felt like I had almost everything I was looking for. Like, not necessarily in terms of goals, but like there wasn't anything specific in my life that was like bad, you could say. It wasn't like I was completely broke. It wasn't like I had absolutely no friends. Like, looking at it from an outsider's perspective, my life was going better than it probably ever has before. But something, for some reason, it just felt like bad to me. Like I didn't feel, it was like just a very dark point in my life. And then I came across his mindset video and the tenets of a G mindset, and implementing that stuff made such a huge impact on the way I thought about just myself and my life and the scenario I was in. And that one video just completely changed everything for me. So I'm really thankful for that. But ever since then I was like, all right, well, this is helpful. What else does he have to show? So then I watched his other videos and I just kept watching, and it made such a huge impact on me and the way I carry myself. And I think it's a huge contributing factor to who I am today. And it,
Mhm.
like with joining the real world, it created a domino effect of where I found him, started improving myself, then I found the real world. So then I started improving my income and skills, and it allowed me to connect and meet other people by learning those skills. So I think it just created a huge butterfly effect from that one video, finding that.
All right. So, how have the people in your life reacted to the changes that you've clearly gone through?
Um, that's a good question. I think they've reacted well. I would hope so, but they're very supportive. But like I said, with copywriting, for example, I didn't even know that existed before. So some people are almost confused by it. And it's understandable because even for me, like, even though throughout my whole life I was interested in a lot of internet marketing stuff and business, sometimes it was still surprising to me that people were able to make some of the money they're making by doing it on their own terms. So I think for people that are so used to the normal way of life, the normal path, to see someone that is able to actually do this, it's very shocking for them. So they don't always understand it, but it's cool because a lot of the people that are close to me are still supportive. Like they'll have no idea what I'm talking about, but just be like, "Wow, that's cool that you're doing that. I'm really proud of you." But the one thing that's interesting is people still won't understand that this is my life path now, because they'll be like, "Oh, this is great. You can use this on your resume." And I'm like, "What do I need a resume for? I'm not getting a job ever again." Like,
Mhm.
so they've reacted well. They just don't fully understand how this is like the main thing now. This is like my life path and my life goal.
Mhm. Good, because I mean, for some people, maybe they'd start getting jealous, or
Mhm.
I mean, there's several different things that can happen when they see someone going out of the general path in life. Then, yeah, I mean, it's good that you have supportive people around you. Some people
Yeah,
have the opposite. So that's why I was wondering what your case was like,
yeah,
which is great to hear from your end.
yeah. I'm
And
glad it's
now,
just like, I have very supportive people surrounding me, so that
good.
makes it good.
Right, right, right. Okay. So now, what would you say have been the three most impactful lessons you've learned from your time within the real world?
The first one would definitely be, like I said earlier, the power of deep work and focused work, because I've shocked myself many times with how much I've been able to get done in a short period of time, whether it's copy or just any work in general that I need to focus in on. Being able to sit down, no distractions, and just absolutely rip through work and just be completely dialed into that one task. That was a very valuable lesson I learned, and it just translates to so many other areas of life. So I think that's definitely the first one. The second one is the power of consistency, where they were teaching me about, if you don't do anything else, do this to-do list every day for your copywriting work, and you'll see results. And that's exactly how I got my first clients, by listening to that and going through the steps of every single day doing outreach, every single day practicing copy, every single day taking lessons in the real world. By staying consistent and doing that every day, the results just naturally came. So an extension of that lesson is focusing on the inputs and not worrying so much about the outputs. Because when I was just focusing on the outputs too much, that's when I wasn't seeing results. But when I focused on the inputs every single day, then the outputs just naturally came as a result. And the third lesson would probably be that I know this is something that can be found elsewhere, but hearing it from people I already trusted and learned from was very impactful to me, is to be a problem solver, where, like I said before, I had a skill and I was trying to make it the solution for everything now. But they were like, slow down, like, you're here to solve their problems, and that's what gets you paid. Doing email marketing or funnels isn't what gets you paid. It's that you're solving a problem they have, and you have the solution to that pain or that desire they have, and you're going to provide that for them in a way that matches their already occurring business, so it's helpful to them. And that created such a shift in mindset for me, where even though I was doing this, I still had like a worker's mindset, But ever since then, it allowed me to have an entrepreneurial mindset that allows me to go in, analyze the situation, and then offer a tailored solution that matches the business's needs.
Hmm. Okay, so as you've been speaking, I mean, I've been paying attention to how you've been phrasing things, and it seems you don't use filler words at all. So, I mean, it seems, again, you've worked on your speaking, oration, everything. Was that something you've always had, or was that after joining the real world, maybe honors lessons or something else?
Yeah, no, that was definitely a result of the real world and just life experience as well. I mean, as a result of joining the real world, because then I was hopping on more sales calls, then I was hopping on networking calls, I was hopping on like group calls with other people. And also it taught me the importance of speaking well. So then in day to day life, if I'm just talking to friends, I'm more careful about how I dictate myself and not using filler words. So the real world was a huge contributing factor to that. Like you said, Arno's lessons was one of the biggest reasons that taught me the specific skills I need to practice my speaking, because I knew speaking was important, but I didn't know how to improve it, where to go. So Arno laid out specific lessons where it allowed me to see where I can analyze my current speech, how I'm going wrong with it, and then how I can then improve and practice that skill. So the issues I had before are no longer an issue.
Hmm. What advice would you have to people who are still unsure about joining the real world? Maybe for $50, they're thinking it's a scam. Yeah, what would you say to them?
I mean, I'm not in their situation, so I don't know why they think it's a scam or why they think it might not work for them specifically. But I know for me, it was just hard to believe that this was possible. And it was more my own self belief than anything else that was stopping me. And I realized that if I wanted to make a change in my life, I needed to change the things I'm doing. I needed to change the information I'm taking in. I need to change the people that I'm hanging around, whether that's online or in person. And for the price, the value it gives is unmatched. Even just to try, if you put in the work and you decide this isn't for you, the skills you learn are applicable to so many areas of life. For example, copywriting, it isn't just writing words on a screen, which is what I originally thought. That's only the smallest fraction of it. It's more about psychology and persuasion. And that's something that goes deeper beyond copywriting. It can help you in marketing. Depending what your job is, you may be able to apply that to that. It's the real world gives you skills that can be extrapolated to so many other areas where it's worth just giving it a try. Where if you have the self belief by going in that wins channel and seeing other people can do it, if you have the self belief by seeing that when you put in the work, the results come, I think you should just go for it and give it a try, because at the very least, you'll come out with some skills and some new knowledge that you didn't have before. So I think to sum up what I essentially just said is just go for it. There's almost no downside and massive, massive upside that you don't even realize until you're actually in and actually putting in the work.
Beautifully put. So for people who want to find out more about you or contact you, where can they do so?
Yep. So you can find me on Twitter at Josh Pinnacle. I tweet there pretty much daily. I talk about life things. I talk about my specific business. And it's also just a good way to connect and reach out through DM if you're interested in asking any questions or you would like to work with me.
Great. So we'll add that to the description of the video. Anyone is interested, it will be there. And Josh, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Potentially in 3 months or so, let me know how things have scaled for you. Reach out to me. We'll do a follow-up. That would be really cool to document. And I wish you all the best until then.
Sounds great. Thank you. It was great meeting you.